So I'm Paul Dugson, and I'm a Reiki master in Isui Shiki-ryoho, which is the Isui system of natural healing. And Reiki means universal life energy in Japanese. So it originally was put together as a system at the turn of the last century in Japan by a Christian monk, though Reiki is not connected to any religion. It was put together by a Christian monk named Mikao Usui. That's where the Usui name comes from. So it's an energetic modality of healing, and it's a hands-on form of healing. So what happens is the practitioner's hands have been initiated to channel this universal life energy, and the practitioner will place their hands on the client's body in a form. There's a set of hand positions that cover the whole body, and it's also possible to treat specific conditions. You don't have to go through the whole form to receive it, but it is used for all sorts of conditions and for general health and well-being as well. So my path with Reiki started when I was in university as well. I was a physics student, and I was looking for all sorts of information, and I was on my own personal journey. I was in physics as part of that as well, because I wanted to understand the nature of the universe, and the physics is a very fundamental science that is set up to do that. I think that as we all live pretty much our day-to-day lives in a linear Newtonian existence, we don't really have very many relativistic events happen to us. When you really get into physics and you really actually work out and use equations that describe quantum mechanics and uncertainty and some of these things, you really really understand what they mean. It changes your perception of the universe. And for me, that was actually emotionally quite an event, because I was looking for certainty, and the nature of the universe is not. So that left me out of sorts with what I was really trying to do. So after absorbing that, I started looking for anything that was nonlinear to understand it and to learn about it. And one of those things was running across a fellow student who had just done their first degree in Reiki, and so I wanted to know what that was. And I was a very purist kind of scientist mentality, and so even though I had this experience that I just told you about in physics, I was very skeptical. So nevertheless, I wanted to see what this was about, and I went to meet my Reiki master, because you take a Reiki course in a short period of time. It takes 3 days to receive your level 1 or your first degree. But in that time, your hands get initiated, and you learn the form of the treatment, and Reiki is really an experiential process. It's not an academic exercise. It comes down in an oral tradition, so it's transmitted very clearly and very simply. So I wanted to know what this was about, and I was skeptical in the class, and it wasn't really until we started treating people, because most of the class is hands-on, and you're treating really from the first day. And the people that were my fellow students were actually having effects right in the course from my hands. So that was certainly an important event. So something really was happening, and it was from something that I was not able to see or touch. I mean, my hands were touching, but what was happening as a result of this? My Reiki master said that I was transmitting something through my hands, but I really didn't feel anything at first, and there was no tactile sort of stimulus back to me. As I went through the course, though, I found that my hands would feel hot. Whoever I was practicing on experienced heat coming from my hands that was not normal heat, just from touch, and yet other people experienced from other people that were in the class kind of like a buzz, like putting your finger into a light socket. Some people experienced cold. Some people didn't experience anything at all. I mean, in terms of a sensation. But almost everybody experienced a sense of great relaxation. Most people fall asleep within a short while of the session starting, and then they go into kind of a deeper state of consciousness. Many people had either some relief from acute symptoms, or they had stuff come up from latent or longer term issues that suggested they either needed help from a physician or that they required more treatment. So something was happening, and yet there wasn't a one-to-one effect. Like you put a pill in your mouth that's based on a chemistry in the pill, and it's designed to target something specific. You do surgery, you know what you're cutting apart and removing or stitching back together again. There's a mechanical kind of relationship. There wasn't a relationship other than the fact that my hands were on or my hands were off, that something was happening. So being a bit scientific about this, I was curious, and I set up a studio, and I started to practice Reiki and have clients and so on. And though the effect, like I said, was never linear. In other words, somebody might come in complaining of a headache, and yes, they might have a direct relief from that. Maybe they would have a pain come up in their knee. Why would they? Well, think back, have you had an injury? Oh yes, 10 years ago I had a ski injury, and I never bothered to get it fixed. Or something, things like that would happen. Somebody would come in, I want general relaxation. I've heard Reiki does that. Okay. Then they burst out into sobbing, emotional reactions on the Reiki table. Okay. Do you want to tell me more about that? Well, I was abused as a child, and these memories are flooding back. Okay. So, as a Reiki practitioner, we're actually not, we actually don't diagnose. We don't control the energy. It's not even our energy. We're channeling universal life energy into the client. And it takes its own course and does its own thing, and it has its own wisdom. And yet, the pattern, the signature with which it works is recognizable. After 15 years of doing it, there's an unfolding quality, and layers of effect happen as you practice Reiki on a person who comes to you regularly or on yourself. It's like peeling back layers of an onion. And yet then it transforms into a new whole onion at another layer, another whole quantum. So, and then again and again, just kind of like the universe itself, I think. So, in first degree, we initiate the hands to allow the channeling to happen. We teach how to treat yourself, treat another person, and to treat a whole list of special conditions and ailments.